Fe and Parkland, Sandy Hook and Columbine, there was Thurston. Kip Kinkel opened fire in the Thurston High School cafeteria 20 years ago today, killing 2 and wounding 25 others. Kinkel had killed his parents the day before. The deadly shooting at Thurston High School in Springfield, Oregon, a lasting memory of where we live.
He just came in through the side door and started shooting everybody. It was one table that was close to the door was Springfield just shot.
On May 21st, 1998, Kip Kinkel, then 15 years old, walked up to Thurston High School with 4 weapons and 1,000 rounds of ammunition under a trench coat. On the patio, he killed Ben Walker, then headed for the cafeteria where he killed McCall Nicholson at close range.
I ran down here as fast as I could. And, the first one I came across was Ben laying right there. He was laying on his stomach. I could see the gunshot wound in the back of his head.
As Kinkel reloaded, a wounded student, Jacob Riker, tackled him, and 7 other students disarmed him. Riker recovered and was proclaimed a hero. Taken to the police station, Kinkel lunged at an officer with a knife, shouting, "Shoot me, kill me." At his sentencing, Kinkel's attorneys argued he was mentally ill.
Kip, what do you want to tell your sister?
Prosecutors said he knew exactly what he was doing. In his journal, he described himself as evil.
I can flunk the kid, and if he wants to, he can walk in the next day and blow me away. There's nothing I can do about it.
Outside Thurston High, a wall of flowers quickly grew into a memorial to the victims. Today, a permanent memorial placed at the southwest portion of the Thurston campus. A plaque reads, "May we all understand the life-changing impact of violence, and may this memorial extend the comfort, strength, and hope that comes from a caring community, state, and nation." More than 1,400 staff and students, represented by the tiles on the memorial wall, were at school that day 20 years ago. One of them, Justine Brown.
When it first started happening, it sounded like firecrackers going off, and we didn't know what was happening. But quickly, of course, everyone in the cafeteria was ducking down, and we were locked down and we were sequestered, not really knowing what had actually happened because it was all so surreal. I was 15.
She is now a teacher at North Medford High School, telling us what happened 20 years ago didn't detract her from what she says is her calling.
My mom, bless her heart, she joked with me that when I graduated and I was becoming a teacher, she said, "I'm going to give you a bulletproof vest," because we're on the front lines, and we're asked as teachers to do more than just teach. I'm asked to care for my students, to look for the warning signs, to keep them safe.
She tells us she connects with her former classmates in one way or another every year at this time to reflect on the events of that day.
That we're able just to bond together and remember and honor each other and see what we've done with our lives, because we all have a great calling on our life, but when something like that happens, it's like, okay, now what are we going to do with this, because we have the weight of it that we carry.
Kip Kinkel is now 35, an inmate at the Oregon Correctional Institution, sentenced to more than 100 years in prison. He will never get out unless a governor commutes his sentence. We sent a letter to Kip Kinkel to see if he would talk with us. He never wrote back.
These are court testimony transcripts from the State versus Kinkel sentencing hearing of Dr. Orrin Bolsted's detailed description of Kip's hallucinations and voices, based on his clinical evaluation. Bolsted is a clinical psychologist who treats young killers in Oregon's juvenile prisons. He examined and evaluated Kip for the defense. He is a consultant at the McLaren Youth Correctional Facility, the state juvenile prison where Kip is serving the first part of his sentence. Did he reveal hallucinations he had experienced to you? He did. Can you describe those or summarize them, and try and describe them in as verbatim a way as he described them to you as you can? So if you need to read from your report, please do. I think I have probably somewhere around 9 pages of verbatims from his delusions, from his hallucinations. I'm not going to read all of that to this court, but I will review the highlights. If I can stop you for a second, I do want to know when he disclosed to you that he first started experiencing hallucinations and how they initially emerged, and then perhaps you can walk us through the genesis of them. Hey. The first day I met with him was February the 1st, and on the very first part of the first day he acknowledged that he heard voices, and he did that on the child behavior checklist. And when I looked at the scores on that result, I noticed that he checked the item that he hears voices. And when I asked him, does he hear voices, he indicated that he did, but he also told me he didn't want to talk about it. And he told me the reason why he didn't want to talk about it was a fear that if he started talking about it, the voices would come back, and that was something he was intent on trying to avoid. When did he say he first started experiencing voices? He indicated to me that he first started hearing voices when he was 12 years of age. And how did that first occur? He told me he remembered the first time he heard voices. He got off a school bus. I was on my driveway, looking at some bushes, and a voice said, "You need to kill everyone in the world." He stated to me, "It scared the shit out of me. I was confused. It seemed like something was seriously wrong. I ran into the house and cried in my room. Said other things too. It said, "You are a stupid piece of shit. You aren't worth anything." And some jumbled words that I can't understand. I was just standing there, looking at the bushes. I asked him at that point, "Where do you think the voices came from?" He said, "Well, I had some theories. I was an atheist or an agnostic. I'm not sure. Maybe it was from the devil. I also thought that the government might have put a chip in my head. Government satellites might have transmitted to the chip in my head. At first I thought the voices were outside of my head because they were so loud. They were very loud, like surround sound." And then he proceeded to tell me about the different types of voices that he hears. He said, "I often hear two voices at the same time, sometimes a third voice. I know they are different. They sound different." The doctor gave them labels A, B, and C. And the doctor referred to here was Dr. Pincus. "One voice always tells me what to do. It's an authoritarian. Loud." The doctor gave that voice a title A. "The B voice tells me I'm a piece of shit. I'm like that. A put-down kind of voice." He said this started in the fall or the winter of the 6th grade, all three of the voices. He said that A is loud, but B is louder. C just repeats what the others say over and over and over again. They scared the shit out of me. I get pissed. I get angry hearing these voices. I was very pissed at God. If I believed in him. What is this? Why do I have these voices? Did you discuss with him whether he ever revealed to anyone what he was experiencing? A. He indicated to me that prior to May 20th to 21st, he had never talked with anyone about the voices. Did you ask him why? He told me he didn't. He was afraid of the voices. He was afraid that that meant he was mentally ill. He didn't want anyone to think of him as mentally ill. He added he particularly didn't want girls to think that he was mentally ill, because had become interested in girls. He said that there were times that he came close to telling his mother about the voices, and that he wanted to, but that he was afraid to. He said one time his mother told him that she heard ringing in her ears, and he thought that might mean that she was hearing voices too. And he said, "I came very close to telling her at that point." But he also indicated he was afraid of telling her about things like this because she would get so upset and that she might pull her hair out. So he was reluctant to let anyone know about these voices, and he told me he made it a rule never to tell anyone. In your experience, are juveniles of this age typically guarded, whether they're mentally ill or not? Oh, very much so. And did it surprise you that he never revealed the voices to anyone? No. Do juveniles of this age generally have a fear of being labeled with mental illness as well? Oh, yes. Did he describe when the voices next occurred? Yes. He told me that the second time he heard the voices was in the 6th grade also. It was December. His family had been to Eagle Crest for the weekend. When they got home from their weekend, there was a referral in the mail from school for some misbehavior. He didn't think he was going to be getting a referral. He thought it had been settled. And he told me that if he would have known he would have gotten a referral, he would have intercepted it. He said, "When my parents saw the referral, they went off. They really got angry. They were yelling at me." He said, "I went to my room, and the voices came after me, saying the same thing. Stupid shit. You can't do anything right." He cried in his room for quite some time. His parents were on the other side of the door, yelling at him. He said the voice was yelling at him too. Later on he got on his bike and he rode down to the river and he said he was bawling. He tried to ride away from the voice, but he couldn't get away from them. They kept on telling him over and over again he was a stupid piece of shit. He said they talked to each other about him, about how stupid he was. And that was the second time he heard voices. Are auditory hallucinations characteristic of particular mental illnesses? Yes. Which ones? Well, it's psychotic thinking. It's most commonly associated with schizophrenics, but you also see hallucinations with some other disorders. You'll see hallucinations sometimes with manic phase for bipolar. You'll see hallucinations sometimes in extreme forms of depression. So it's characteristic of pretty serious mental illnesses. Are certain auditory hallucinations so-called first-rank symptoms? Yes, there are a Schneider list called first-rank symptoms. Where does that come from? Well, from Schneider's research on hallucinations and delusions. And they have been incorporated in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. This is the diagnostic book that psychologists and psychiatrists use. And the Schneider list has been incorporated into the diagnosis of schizophrenia such that if people have first-rank symptoms, that's a very positive sign of serious mental illness. The DSM is kind of the common language that psychiatrists and psychologists talk to each other in. Yes, it's the way of understanding diagnosis from one subjective source to another. Yes, how often did he say the hallucinations recurred after that second time? And can you summarize his later experiencing of similar hallucinations? He indicated to me that it varied. There were days that he heard voices many times a day. There were times that he heard them weekly. He said sometimes he only heard them once a month. It depended on how much stress he was under. It depended on how depressed he was, how angry he was. The voices were pretty persistent from the time he was 12 on, but they varied in frequency as a function of stress. Did you discuss the relationship between what he was experiencing and what he heard on a rock and roll CD? Yes. He once indicated to me that he had never told anyone about his voices, that he wondered about them a lot, he wondered what they meant. He was curious about them. He indicated to me that he had thoughts like he wondered if deaf people could hear voices, which I found to be a rather intriguing question. But he went on to tell me that the first time he had ever heard anyone mention voices was when he heard a song by 9 Inch Nails, that described in that song the hearing of voices. And it intrigued him, from his reading of the lyrics from this song, to know that someone else was like him, someone else heard voices. And I think because of this association he felt a big connection with the 9 Inch Nails. The particular verse from 9 Inch Nails that attracted his attention goes like the following. Annie, hold on a bit tighter. I might just slip away. He won't give up. He wants me dead. God damn this voice inside my head. And he indicated to me that that line, God damn this voice inside my head, shocked him when he first heard it because it fit for him. And he said that over a period of time he came to say this to himself a great deal. And he said that lots of times. I would say to myself, God damn these voices inside my head. As he described it to you, did the 9 Inch Nails precede the voices, or was his connection with 9 Inch Nails the fact that he finally heard someone else who was experiencing the same things he was? According to what he indicated to me, he had been hearing voices for quite some time before he ever heard the song by 9 Inch Nails. Did you find him to be an accurate and truthful reporter, generally? I was astonished by how meticulous he was in his recollection of events. I went over my notes with him at one point, and one time I quoted voice A when I was incorrect. It should have been voice B in my writing, and he was very upset with me about that and was emphatic that I got that wrong, and he wanted to make sure that I got that corrected. He didn't want himself misrepresented. He had a particular fascination with being correct about these matters. I also made a mistake in my history gathering in my notes. I said something about one of his professors was black, and I must have misheard that. And he was very clear with me that I got that wrong, that the professor was not black. And when I would go over the history with him, I found that he was very meticulous, very accurate, and extremely consistent from one reporting to the next over the many hours that I saw him. Did you discuss with Mr. Kinkel the psychologist he went to see during the beginning of 1997 and through June of 97? Yes, Dr. Hicks. He indicated to me that while he was seeing Hicks in that summer, the voices were less frequent. He also indicated to me that after seeing Hicks, he was put on antidepressant medications, and he felt like he had a good summer. He wasn't sure if the reduction of voices had to do with being on this medicine, Prozac, or just because there was very little stress in the summer. He was not clear about that. The Prozac or the combination of the Prozac and his summer activities did seem to help abate the voices though. Is that correct? Hey. He indicated to that he only heard voices a few times during that summer. Did he indicate why he discontinued the medication? He indicated to me that he thought he was better at the end of the summer. He indicated to me that the way he put it was, as a result of his meeting with Hicks, he felt like he didn't need to be on the medicine anymore, so he was taken off the medicine. Did he describe to you ways he tried to get the voices to stop? Yes. What did he tell you? There were a variety of different things that he would do to try to get the voices to stop. One was exercise, riding his bike. He would try to distract himself. He would watch TV. He told me that he wished he would have tried alcohol or drugs to get rid of the voices, especially when they were bad, but he never really was successful at that either. He also told me that sometimes he would punch himself in the head when he was hearing voices. While he was incarcerated in jail, he had an incident where he punched himself in the head to the point of getting a black eye. So he said he tried that to get rid of the voices, but he said basically nothing worked. He used to tell them to shut up, but he said that didn't help either. He said it just made them get louder. Are you aware of any time he reported the voices to others? The only incident that I'm aware that he made any kind of a public statement or a statement about voices was in class. I think about 2 or 3 weeks before May 20th, he blurted out in class, "God damn this voice inside my head." And have you seen the so-called respect sheet or discipline write-up that was in Mr. Rowan's class that was generated from that? Yes, I've seen that, showing you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 107. Can you identify that? Yes, this is the copy of the same respect sheet that I had seen earlier. And can you describe what it says? Well, the respect sheet has his name on the top, the name of the class literature, the date, which is April 24th, 1997, and the first question that he's asked to fill out reads, "What were you doing that was disrespectful in the classroom?" And the statement that is written here is, saying "God damn, I've got to get these voices out of my head," is inappropriate in class. That's crossed through. What's crossed through is "God damn, I've got to get these voices out of my head." And over on the left-hand margin it is rewritten, and it says, "God damn this voice inside my head." I asked Kip to explain this to me, and what he indicated to me is that the teacher got it wrong. The teacher was inaccurate. He said, "I've got to get these voices out of my head." And I never said that. He said, "What I said was, this voice." And this is an example of his precision. Kip has a very strong thing about being precise, and he wanted this respect sheet to be accurate. So he crossed through the original phrase and substituted the accurate phrase, "God damn this voice inside my head." Looking further down the sheet it says, the expected behavior for the situation was, and what does that describe, meaning he was disciplined for what? It says, what is expected behavior for this situation? And it says, not to say damn. It doesn't say anything about God. Correct? No. In the future, what could you do differently to prevent the problem? It says, not to say damn? Correct. What's the date of the respect sheet? April 24th, 1997, 1998. It appears as if both Kip and Mr. Rowan signed it on that day, and then Kip's mom signed it on the 27th of April? A. Yes. Can you distinguish hallucinations and delusions for us? Hallucinations pertain to auditory or visual distortions of reality. They are the hearing of a voice that's not really there, or the seeing of an image that's not really there. A delusion is a false belief. It's a false belief that is distorted, often twisted in a negative direction, and it's very resistant to change in the absence of medications. People who have delusions typically are hard to talk out of their opinion or their strange notions, and even in the face of data to the contrary they are reluctant to change their minds about such things. Did Mr. Kinkel relay to you a history of delusions? He didn't put them that way. He didn't say, I have a history of delusions, but he did tell me about a number of things that I think could easily be classified as delusions. Could you describe those for us? Yes. In talking with him about his feeling that he needed to arm himself and protect himself, I asked him why, and he indicated to me that he had fears that the Chinese were going to invade, like after a bombing with a nuclear weapon. He felt that he was particularly worried about the second wave of an attack. He thought he would survive the first wave because he lived where he did. He was very concerned about how the Chinese, and I quote, they brag that they have 1 billion people and 200 million in the military. They are so huge. They have nuclear weapons. Seemed like I would end up fighting them. I had lots of fantasies about fighting the Chinese. So he was also very concerned about a plague, like The Stand, by Stephen King. He felt like he needed to accumulate food, supplies. He thought he would have liked to have built a bomb shelter. If he had the money, if he had had the stuff to build a bomb, he would build a bomb. He wanted to learn how to build bombs in case he would need it. He also thought about the end of the world. He thought about society falling apart, and he worried a lot about that. When I interviewed his sister, she clued me in to how he had some peculiar notions about the Disney Corporation. So I asked him about Disney, and he became animated. And it was the first time I had ever seen him animated. Up until this point he had been pretty flat in his effect. And he told me that over the next 15 years, the Disney dollar would take over the American dollar. He says they're also taking over the news industry, entertainment, ABC News. It's a monopoly. They use a fuzzy mouse as a mascot. It lets them get away with all kinds of stuff. If Iraq would just use a fuzzy mascot, they would have a better image. No one goes after Disney because of Mickey Mouse. And then he told me, Disneyland, the happiest place on earth. And he said that in a very cynical, agitated, irritated manner. He also had a lot of concerns about censorship. He felt like music was being censored. He made references to how censorship works, and he referenced Castro, Mao Zedong, Stalin. He said, consult the experts. Censorship works. And then he told me that they are putting chips in the backs of sex criminals. He says that, I don't need to worry about that because I'm not a sex criminal, but I think about that the government could take control of us. If someone put a chip in me, I would take it out. The government is experimenting right now. Look at the X-Files. And they told me when they did an MRI, I thought they would find a chip or something in my head put there by the government. And then he told me the chip can produce voices, and he said, maybe that's the way they're controlling me. And he went on to tell me that the government was controlling Hinckley, maybe. And then he told me he thought the Disney thing probably sounded stupid to me because it sounds stupid to criticize Disney, but behind it there are greedy corporations taking over America. And he went on and on about this. And somehow the Disney Corporation and government were caught up a censorship collaboration to censor lyrics in music. He told me that sometimes he would tell people at school about Disney, but he gave up on doing that because they thought he was weird. And he could talk with his mother about it and his sister a little bit, but he didn't really find himself talking about it with other people. And I noted with emphasis in my report that he had a way of saying things. A delusion isn't just a disordered thought. It's more than that. It has to do with the way things are said sometimes, not just the content of what is said. And I will give you an illustration. He said to me with the kind of emphasis that I'm going to try to mimic that he did. He told me I can see what Disney is doing. I can see the government as well. And then he asked me if I saw it, and I told him I didn't see it that way. And he became animated. He wanted to argue about it. And then he finally said to me, no one of average intelligence sees it with the Disney. You have to be smarter. Happiest place on earth. Haha. So it's not just the content of what's said, it's sort of the way it's said. And that's said with a conviction that is characteristic of delusions. It's also said with a quality of grandiosity. When he said, I can. He is distinguishing himself from most everyone else in a grandiose way. That clustering of symptoms I think illustrates delusions quite well as grandiosity. And these are symptoms of psychotic thinking. Did he relate another delusion about an individual who pursued him for an incident by the roadside near his home? Yes. Can you tell us about that? He told me about a man who had been following him around. He said that one day, I think it was around Thanksgiving of the preceding year prior to, I guess that would be Thanksgiving of '97, he told me that he was riding his bike along the road, and there was a man parked alongside the road fixing his tire. And he had put a triangle out as a safety indicator, just a small little triangle on the road. And he says as he was riding along the road, he kicked the triangle over. And he said the man came up to him afterwards and was very upset. He said this car that the man was working on had bullet holes in it. And he said this man came up to him and told him he kicked his triangle. He said the man looked all drugged out. He said, I know where he lives. He lives in a trailer on the road that was on the way to school. He came up to me and demanded that I give him $40 for kicking his triangle, as if it was a fine or something. Kip said, I told him I didn't have $40. He asked for my address and my phone number. I gave him a fake address and I mixed up my phone number. And then he got his gun out from a glove compartment and he threatened me. And I rode off. After this, Kip indicated he kept on seeing this guy. He would go to school on the school bus, and he would look over at this guy's house and he would see him watching him. He would see him following him in the brown car after the bus went by. He said, I was afraid he would come to my house and that he would bring his friends to my house and take over our house. And he said, I had to have a plan to get rid of this guy. That's why I needed the gun. I said, which gun? He said, the one I bought from Corey. He said, I needed a pistol. My dad had the other pistols in his locker. So I needed this one in case he came after me. He told me he was driving with his mother, and they pulled into a gas station. And he said the same car with the bullet holes came into this gas station. And a guy got out who wasn't the same fellow who he claimed met him at the triangle. And he said this other man came up to him and said, You're Kip Kinkel, aren't you? You kicked my triangle. We'll see you later. We'll get you for kicking my triangle. He said he was really upset because it wasn't even the same guy, and he didn't know how this guy could have known his name. And this whole story has a quality of disbelief to it. It's an odd story. It's a strange story. I questioned that this is an accurate story about what happened. I think it's delusional. I think he's incorporated a lot of features into this story that are his fears and his projections, and it's an example of another delusion. Have you stated your conclusion that these delusions are good indication of psychotic processes? Well, there's one type of delusion that he manifested that is on Schneider's list of high-risk symptoms for schizophrenia, and that's the kind of delusion in which someone is trying to take control of your mind. And his delusion about a microchip having been placed in his brain by the government that communicates with satellites, he indicated that one satellite gave voices to the microchip, and that's where the voices came from, and another satellite followed his every movement. So there's a good example of a Schneider first-rank symptom. But he has many other delusions besides that. Dr. Bolstad, can you turn to page 32 of your report? I'm looking at the last paragraph there. At some point a ways into your clinical interview you discuss with Mr. Kinkel the events of May 20th and May 21st of 1998. Is that correct? Yes. And did you detail those as accurately as you could in your report? Yes. I wonder if you could just read from the report, starting with that last paragraph and up to the top of page 34. I asked him if he had been hearing voices around the time of the incidents on May 20th and 21st. And specifically I asked him if he had heard any voices around the time that he was caught with the gun in his locker. And he says, no, they didn't start until I was at the Burger King. My dad picked me up at school, and we were at the police station for a while. I had been told by someone that I would get expelled, something about 2 felony convictions on my record. I got in the car with my dad to go home, and he said to me, you're only 15 and you've already got 2 felonies. We stopped at the Burger King on the way home, and we ordered 2 Whoppers. We sat down. My dad said to me, you disgust me. And he got up and went to the car to eat his hamburger. I couldn't eat because the voices had started. I just sat there. I threw the Whopper away and started to walk out, but then realized that there was too little time to have eaten it. And so I went to the bathroom for a while before I went back to the car. I didn't want my dad yelling at me for not eating the Whopper, wasting money. In the car, we drove home. I don't remember what my dad said. The voices were all over me at that point, all 3. It's a 15-minute ride home. B was saying, look at what you've done. You stupid piece of shit, you're worthless. The voice said, you'll have to kill him, shoot him. C was repeating this over and over. They got louder and louder. I went into the house. I was crying. I went in my bedroom up to the loft. There were 2 guns in the trunk, the .22 pistol and the sawed-off shotgun. I took them and hid them because I thought Dad might look. Hid them in the attic. The voices kept saying, get your gun, shoot him, shoot him. I got the .22 rifle. As Kip was saying this, he was crying and sobbing. His head was down on the table, much like it is now. The rest of the account that he told me took place on the table, again sobbing. He said, my dad was sitting at the bar. The voice said, kill him, shoot him. So I did. I had no choice. The voices told me, you have no choice. I had never heard that before. You have no choice. His back was to me. I said, why didn't you refuse the voice? He said, I don't know. They were getting louder and louder. I had to be right there, like the time I held the scissors, because the scissors were in my hand. Any thoughts just before the shooting? I said to myself I had no other choice. They kept saying it to me. It didn't seem real. I asked him what he was thinking after that. He says that, I hate everybody, myself especially. I hated the voices most of all. He kept on saying to me, look at what you've done now, you stupid shit. Then I asked him about his mother. And he said when she came home they said, kill her. Look at what you've done. You have no other choice. So I killed her too. I just wanted to kill myself. The voice said later, get guns and bullets. You have no other choice. Kill everybody. Go to school and kill everybody. Look at what you've already done. He said. I argued with them. I told them to shut up. They ignored me. All night long I didn't sleep. It seemed like a short time. The night went by fast. I had the same clothes on all the next day. I put on the coat. I took the .22 pistol and the .22 rifle and the Glock. I switched stocks for the rifle. The stock. I took the stock that was sawed off. I switched it that night. I switched it so I could hide it better. I taped bullets to my chest. I asked him why he did that, and he said something about he saw it on TV or something so he could kill himself if he ran out of ammo. I asked him if the voices told him to tape the bullets to his chest. He said, no, it was my idea. I said, did you have any thoughts on the way to school? And he says, no, I don't remember. He told me about getting to school and walking down the corridor. He saw 3 kids in front of him. He heard a voice that said, shoot them now. Another voice said, wait. He heard, look at what you've already done, and it's their fault. You have no other choice. He heard that over and over. You have no other choice. I knew people would be in the cafeteria. I just started shooting. It was all rolled together, the voices saying, look what you've already done. You've ruined their lives. Shoot them. You've got no other choice. I think that's enough. Did you reach diagnostic conclusions on the DSM axis? Well, I did with some of the same qualifiers I've already said earlier. I think diagnosing adolescence is difficult. Adolescence symptoms change as they develop and get older. What I'm clear about is he has psychotic symptoms. I'm clear that he has a mental illness. I believe that most of his symptoms are consistent with schizophrenia paranoid type. Although I can't yet rule out schizoaffective disorder, I think that's a real possibility. Schizoaffective disorder is a combination of schizophrenia with depression. I also can't rule out a bipolar type of affective disorder because he has a lot of manic symptoms as well. So it's still a bit confusing as to exactly the nature of his diagnosis, but I am confident that he is mentally ill. I am confident that he is psychotic. He also has a learning disorder. He has generalized anxiety disorder and major depressive disorder. Perhaps we discussed this before, but I want to be certain. First-rank symptoms, did you notice those? Yes. Which ones? In diagnosing schizophrenia, you have to satisfy what's called criterion. This criterion requires either hallucinations or delusions, and there's a lot of different requirements about those delusions and hallucinations. But if you meet criterion of first-rank symptoms, it satisfies all of criterion A, and he met 2 first-rank symptoms. The first was he heard voices that communicated with each other about him. That's a first-rank symptom. And the first-rank delusion that he has is the delusion in which he thinks there are parties that are controlling his mind. And either one of those would satisfy first-rank symptoms, but he has both, so he doubly qualifies. Did you bring with you the chapter on the DSM related to schizophrenia and psychotic disorders? Yes. And you've gone through that and isolated particular portions that you think are significant and pertinent to Kip Kinkel and his diagnosis and his behaviors. Is that correct? Yes. Can you just share a few of those with the court? I'm looking at page 281. Page 281 has a particular statement on it that I find that's very characteristic. It reads, the onset of schizophrenia typically occurs between the late teens and the mid-30s, with onset prior to adolescent rare, although cases with age of onset at 5 or 6 years of age are reported. The essential features of the condition are the same in children, but it may be particularly difficult to make the diagnosis in this age group. In children, delusions and hallucinations may be less elaborated than those observed in adults. And I think his delusions are less elaborated, and what elaborated means is, his delusions are not as tightly organized as you see in adult schizophrenics. They are not as convoluted or as layered. As people get older with schizophrenia with delusions, their delusions kind of become organized, become developed like a well-developed story. And he is not well-developed yet in his delusions. He has multiple delusions, but he doesn't have like one delusion that is highly organized and systematized. Page 282, there's a description of the course of schizophrenia. And it talks about how the onset may be abrupt or insidious, but the majority of individuals display some type of prodromal phase, early phase, manifested by slow and gradual development of a variety of signs and symptoms. Social withdrawal, loss of interest in school or work, deterioration of hygiene and grooming, unusual behaviors, outbursts of anger. Family members may find this behavior difficult to interpret and assume that the person is just going through a phase. Eventually, however, the appearance of some active phase symptoms marks the disturbance of schizophrenia. Individuals with an early age of onset are more often male and have poor premorbid adjustment, meaning poor adjustment prior to the onset. They have often more evidence of structural brain abnormalities, more evidence of cognitive impairments with neurological testing. So that was one of the reasons why I was particularly interested in getting a report from a pediatric neurologist. And then, in terms of diagnosis, on page 287, paranoid type, yes? They talk about the paranoid type of schizophrenia. And what's a distinguishing feature of the paranoid, and I think this is very important, is that the paranoid type of schizophrenia is characterized by the presence of prominent delusions or hallucinations in the context of a relative preservation of cognitive functioning and effect. What that means is you can have these symptoms of hallucinations and delusions and at the same time have well-preserved cognitive thinking in most other areas of your life. The thing we know about people with paranoid symptoms is they often do well in school, adults do well in their businesses, until someone touches a button that is related to a delusion or until they start hearing voices. But otherwise their behavior can look pretty normal. And the paranoid type of delusions, they're mostly persecutory, although they're sometimes command. And the associated features of these symptoms are anxiety, anger, aloofness, and argumentativeness. There's often a formal quality in interpersonal interactions. And the persecutory themes may predispose the individual to suicidal behavior, and the combination of persecutory and grandiose delusions with anger may predispose the individual to violence. Individuals with this disorder show little or no impairment on cognitive testing and most neurological testing. And so what we see in the paranoid type of schizophrenia is that none of the following are prominent. Disorganized speech is not prominent, disorganized or catatonic behavior is not prominent, and flat or inappropriate affect are not prominent. What's prominent are the auditory hallucinations and the delusions. So I think his symptomatology is very consistent with this diagnosis, but as I've already indicated, he also has signs of schizoaffective disorder and bipolar. Now hear the confession of Kip. It is heartbreaking. We cannot allow this to continue. We cannot allow ourselves to become desensitized to mind control torture that is causing mass shootings.
Today's date is Thursday, May 21st, 1998. The time is at 9:51 a.m. This will be a taped conversation with the last name of Kinkel, K-I-N-K-E-L, first of Kipling, K-I-P-L-A-N-T, middle of Philip, P-H-I-L-I-P, date of birth 8/30 of 82. Kip, what I've done is I've turned on a tape recorder so I can tape record our conversation, because I'm not the best note taker in the world, and a couple things that I want to go back over with you. And earlier I advised you you're right. Is that not correct? Okay, can you speak up just a little bit? Okay. And we talked briefly, and yesterday you were involved in an incident where a gun was, you purchased a gun at school from Corey Ewert, and your dad came here to the Springfield Police Department and took you home after that is done. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go back to the earlier case with the gun that you bought from Corey. Why did you buy that gun?
Yes.
Remember why you bought the gun?
I don't know.
Did you buy it with the intention of hurting somebody?
No.
Had you and your dad discussed whether you should own a gun or anything like that?
Yeah.
Okay. And he said what?
Well, better if I didn't.
He said what?
It's kind of complicated. I don't know.
Okay. Do you think that you were too young for a gun?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know what's wrong with me.
Okay.
My head just doesn't work right.
Okay. Why doesn't it work right?
I don't know. I can't get...
All right. When you brought the gun to school yesterday, or when you purchased it yesterday, did you know that was the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do?
I knew it was the wrong thing.
You knew it was the wrong thing to do?
Yeah.
Okay. But you didn't have any intent yesterday, or at least that's what you told me yesterday, of hurting anybody. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. So, when you got home with your dad, is Dad angry with you?
Yes.
Okay. And you left here just around noon, I believe. So, did you go straight home?
We stopped at Burger King.
You stopped at Burger King? That's the one out there at 58 in Maine.
That's Mohawk.
You went to Mohawk Burger King? Okay. So, do you know what time it was when you got home?
1 o'clock, 1:30.
Okay. Tell me what happens when you get home.
I had no other choice. I couldn't.
You were feeling really guilty.
Yeah.
Okay. So, your dad has guns, right?
Yes.
And where does he keep his guns?
He usually keeps them in his tennis locker at some tennis club. But we go and shoot every once in a while. And so they were home. Just fine. Most of the time they're not home. Only the rifles are there.
So only the 10-22 Ruger rifle is there?
Mm-hmm.
And where was that at?
I had that in my room.
You had that in your room?
Mm-hmm.
Was it loaded or unloaded?
Unloaded. It was unloaded.
So the ammunition was in your room as well?
It was in a safe. It was in my parents' room, but I went and got it.
Okay. So was your dad, did he hit you or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Was he yelling or out of control or?
Yes, I couldn't. I had no other choice. God.
You told me earlier he was in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And was that around 4 o'clock? Or could it have been earlier?
It was earlier.
You think it was earlier?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Let me ask you this.
What?
Had I been a visitor in your home, would you have shot your dad?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't know. It's just I had no other choice. He was saying
He was saying all that stuff that he was kind of. He was saying a lot of negative stuff about you. Like what was he saying about you? Okay. He's mad at you because you got caught in school with a gun, right?
Right.
Okay.
And he's all his friends and everything knew about it.
Okay. So he was feeling ashamed and embarrassed because you did something wrong. Is that right? Okay.
I didn't want to. I love my dad. That's why I had to.
You love him, so that's why you had to kill him? Okay. So what's he doing in the kitchen when you come in?
He was drinking something. I don't know.
Okay. Was his back to you?
Yes.
Okay. Earlier you told me you walked up behind him and shot him in the head. Is that right?
Basically, yeah.
Basically?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you stand away from him when you shot
Yeah.
him? How far were you from him when you shot him?
10 feet.
10 feet? And how many times did you shoot him?
One.
And where did that bullet hit him?
Right above the ear.
Right behind the ear?
Yeah, but yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God.
It's all right. So, your dad falls to the kitchen floor?
He just laid on the counter.
He laid on the counter? Then what did you do?
I didn't know what to do, so I dragged him into the bathroom. and I put a white sheet over him.
Okay.
Oh my God. My parents were good people. I'm just so fucked up in the head. I don't know why. I wish I was dead.
So what do you do from the time that you put the sheet over your dad and your mom comes home?
A few people called.
You remember who called?
Yeah, some of my friends. And I just talked to them. I didn't say anything about that. And I didn't know what to do because, oh my God, my mom was coming home and she knew what I'd done. Oh my God.
So your mom comes home around 6, is that right?
Yeah. And I just talked to them. I didn't say anything about that. And I didn't know what to do because, oh my God, my mom was coming home and she knew what I'd done. Oh my God.
So your mom comes home around 6, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I've never been to your house. So, and earlier you talked about a basement. Is that a garage that's underneath the house, or?
Yeah.
Okay. So your mom drives in her car, right?
Yeah.
What is she driving?
Explorer.
Explorer?
Yeah.
And she parks. Where are you at?
I was waiting for her.
Okay. Outside or inside?
Inside.
Okay. She pull into the garage?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Do you have one of these automatic garage doors where she closes the door after she pulls in?
Yeah.
Was the door up or down?
Down.
Okay.
I just want to die.
I know.
Oh God.
So, you told me that your mom gets out of the Explorer and starts up the stairs from the garage or basement, is that right?
Yes.
Do you say anything to her?
Yes. I told her I loved her.
And then
God damn, these voices are coming in my head.
All right, all right. Yep. Yep. Settle down. Settle down. It's all right. It's all right. Just settle down, okay? All right, just settle down. Okay. So how far were you from your mom when you shot her?
I don't know.
Okay. Earlier you told me you shot her twice.
I shot her several times.
You shot her several times?
Because I dragged her out into the basement after I shot her. And she was still alive. And I said that I loved her. And I shot her. I shot her again. She would know that I killed her. Because of my mom.
Okay. So you didn't want your mom to know that you were the one that shot her?
Right.
Okay. And you love your mom?
Yeah.
So what did you do the rest of the night? Did you talk to any more friends?
Oh, it just, I didn't know what to do. I held my Glock to my head, and I wanted to kill myself so bad, but I couldn't. I don't know why.
Now, you said there was only one gun in the home. Where did the Glock come from? Did you go somewhere and pick up the Glock?
No, it was in my dad's tennis stuff, but he takes it back to the club.
Okay, so it was at home too.
Yes.
Okay. So did you get any sleep last night at all, or did you stay awake all night?
Stayed awake.
Okay. So, did you watch TV? What?
I turned it on to keep me company, but I didn't watch it.
Okay. All right. Now, you shot your mom to save her the embarrassment and that sort of stuff, right?
Yes.
Okay. Was that the right thing or the wrong thing to do?
I couldn't do anything else.
Okay. Now this morning, you had planned to go to school, and you had taped some bullets to your chest. What were those bullets for?
To kill myself if I ran out of ammunition.
And you told me earlier you took two knives, the Ruger 10-22 that was sawed off, a Ruger 22 caliber pistol, and the Glock 19, which is a 9mm. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you took those to school. Okay. You were wearing a big overcoat. Were you hiding the weapons?
Yes.
Okay. Why were you hiding?
I didn't know what else to do.
You didn't know what else to do? Why did you go to school and start shooting people?
I had to. I had no other choice. I couldn't do anything else.
Had you been stopped by a police officer before you'd gotten to school? Would you have done that?
I don't know.
Okay. Why did you feel that you didn't have a choice with the kids at school?
I don't know. I can't. I had to. I had to. Okay.
Was there any kids that were in that group of people that you were seeing that you singled out as any one target?
No.
Do you know the names of any of those kids that you shot at?
No.
When we got here to the police department, you had a knife that the officers had missed strapped to your leg, right?
Right.
And you'd slipped your cuffs around to the front. And when I opened the door, you held that knife out and you charged me with that knife.
Yes.
Why did you do that?
I want you to shoot me. I just want to die.
Okay.
I can't.
Was that the right thing or the wrong thing to do?
It has to be the right thing, because I need to die more than anything else.
As you were growing up, through elementary school and middle school, were you ever taken to a counselor?
Yes.
Well, what for?
I got in trouble with the police.
You got in trouble with the police?
Yes.
Is this about that book about making explosives or something?
Well, it was just a lot of things my mom took me to.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Let me ask you this. When you went to the counselor, did they prescribe any sort of medication or anything for you?
The Prozac.
Prozac? Are you taking Prozac today?
No.
Okay. When's the last time you took Prozac?
The fall.
The fall of this year? Did they diagnose you as attention deficit or hyper disorder or anything like that?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay. Did your dad ever physically abuse you?
No.
Okay. Did anybody ever physically abuse you?
No.
Okay. Kip, let me ask you this. If you had it to do over again, what would you do?
I tried so hard to kill myself. I just kill myself. I can't do it. I want more than anything.
Okay. Now, whose car did you drive to school this morning?
My mom.
And that was a green Ford
Yes.
Escort or Explorer?
Or
Explorer. And you parked that near the tennis court, is that correct?
yes.
Okay. And what time did you get to school this morning, do you remember?
Oh, a little bit before 8 o'clock.
Okay. Were there other people around you when you got out of the Explorer?
Yes.
Did they say anything to you?
No.
Okay.